Bill Vernick, a creative supervisor at our agency, will now walk you through a real project example and give you his perspective on how this process has made a big difference in our advertising and, importantly, in our brand-agency relationship.
First, let me say that Greg Shearson wrote a script for me to deliver, but as I am a firm believer in the total quality process, I showed it to a group of consumers, and they all agreed it should be immediately discarded. Just kidding. I've been writing Waking Up commercials since we originated the campaign 5 years ago, and during that time I've seen many unofficial copy processes come and go. But there was something about the idea behind total quality that readily appealed to me. I like to call it the burden of proof. Let me explain. In the past, I would present an idea for a commercial. My client would either look at me like I was out of my mind, or he would agree that this idea would make a pretty nice little commercial. We would then spend $300,000 in production and another $20 million in media because we both, quote, thought it would be a pretty nice little commercial. After all this time and money spent, we were either proved right or wrong. But with total quality, the burden of proof was no longer on me to prove the commercial would work. It was no longer on my client hoping he had hired the right advertising agency. It was on the consumer, where it should have been all along. I will give you an example of how this worked the first time we tried it. Instead of going straight to creating a new idea for another Waking Up spot, we decided to focus first on what we wanted to improve versus our last 2 or 3 commercials. And importantly, consumer research over the past year or so told us what we needed to do. We needed to improve the memorability of our advertising, more consumers remembering our message, and while they were remembering Folgers, we needed to do a better job registering our aroma and day brightening. Sounds easy enough. With that agreed to, we then developed 5 or 6 big idea concepts, shared them with the brand, and then went off and showed them to consumers. We presented these ideas in the form of video storyboards, which are simple, inexpensive, and relatively painless to produce, and gave the consumer the big idea in a format they're used to. I'll show you one of them now, a spot we call Marine.
Hey, you made it.
Mom and Dad asleep?
We weren't expecting you until noon.
Don't wake them up yet. Let's get some coffee.
I'll do it.
I can make it.
You didn't used to know how to boil water.
Even when you try not to, you can't help but wake people up with the fresh, mountain-grown aroma of Folgers coffee.
You're home.
Jim made the coffee.
You didn't used to know how to boil water.
Why don't I make breakfast, too?
Sit down. I can't handle too many changes.
We showed this video storyboard and 4 others to consumer groups. We were looking for the most relevant and motivating 2 or 3 commercials to move forward with. With this research, no internal lobbying was needed. It was clear that consumers really liked Marine and 2 others. What's more, they told us that they thought these ideas would make good Folgers commercials and offered us improvement ideas. So far, not much client or agency pain. The brand group and the agency creative group then presented this consumer learning to the Folgers category manager. Absent from this meeting were the words opinion and judgment, which, as Greg pointed out, was the prior way of copy decision making. We simply let the ideas and consumer comments speak for themselves. The 3 spots were approved for production. We then used what we learned from the research, even some of those consumer improvement ideas, to refine the end commercials. We clarified some dialogue, we simplified some sequences, and we added the one element consumers are really looking for, emotion. Let me show you the end result.
Hey, you made it.
How you doing, man?
All right.
Mom and Dad asleep?
Yeah, we weren't expecting you until noon.
Let's let them sleep for once. When did you learn to make coffee?
You have been gone for a while.
Nothing brightens your morning like Mountain Grown Folgers. Mountain Grown coffee has more enticing aroma and richer flavor than any other kind.
Got a little thick around the neck, man.
you old man.
Yeah, but you guys don't change. You never did let us sleep, baby.
Well, I admit that I was a skeptic, but this process, when used right, really works. Now, I'm not personally a big fan of recall scores, but I am happy to note that the final burden of proof was again on consumers. This commercial met and exceeded our improvement objectives. Marine has the highest recall of any single commercial in the history of our Waking Up campaign, and has scored double the previous high for the aroma and triple the previous high for day brightening. Best of all, it was easier to make and produce. It only took 4 months from start to finish, as opposed to the 18 months our previous pool took. Marine required only 4 edits, quite a bit less than the 15 edits previously required. In summary, these values and this process have helped my organization, your advertising agency, feel a sense of true partnership that was absent before. We are not just preferred suppliers, we are partners. And this partnership has led directly to increased enthusiasm, higher levels of commitment, and in our opinion, our best work to date. We hope you agree. Thank you very much.